India Today has accessed the latest drone drama assessment details. Now the inside story of Pakistan's Indian drone is emerging. The allegation, according to sources, is that the drone was likely being used by India, but now our source is telling us that the drone was being tested by ISI instead, and there's confusion between the Pakistani Army and ISI that actually in fact could have doomed that drone. We have Editor Strategic Affairs Gaurav Sawant now joining me live from the newsroom. Gaurav, it seems like Pakistan is trying to save itself from an embarrassment by blaming India for the drones that we're talking about.
This clearly is extremely embarrassing for Pakistan. Now, these are commercially available Chinese drones. It's called Phantom Mark III. These drones are not used by India at all. Whenever you buy a drone from any country, and it's apparent to the whole world where you're buying your drones from, India uses searchers and herons, one by the army, the other by the navy and the air force. Same is the case with the intelligence agencies. Now, sources in the government are telling us that this perhaps was a very small drone, perhaps used for some kind of a tactical operation by Pakistan's ISI or one of the terror modules, because after the meeting in Ufa between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Pakistan's Premier Nawaz Sharif, there was escalation that was feared at the line of control. The intelligence agencies had warned of Pakistan using their border action teams. These are joint teams of terrorists and Pakistan Army retired JCOs and Jawans who are used to launch, who are launched across the border to behead our soldiers or ambush a patrol. That was the warning, and these drones can easily be used for such operations. Now, India clearly does not use Chinese-made drones, given the nature of relationship between India and China. This is something that perhaps was being used by the Pakistan Army, by their ISI, was either mistakenly brought down or it came down on its own. A drone perhaps crashed is what government of India is saying, but this is clearly not an Indian drone.
So what you're trying to say, Gaurav, is that there's a high possibility that there was a miscommunication between the Pakistani Army and the ISI over this drone.
Which is what sources are telling India Today. This is either a communication gap between various agencies within Pakistan, that's point one, or point two, the drone must have malfunctioned, it crashed, and the situation just got out of hand. While Pakistan, made a big deal of it, they summoned the Indian High Commissioner in Islamabad. They summoned him to the Foreign Office late yesterday evening. They've complained about the drone. But when India sought facts, there are no facts coming out from Pakistan. When did this incident actually take place? The nature of this drone, where was this? What are the pictures that have come out of it? None of this information Pakistan is willing to share, even within its country. And this clearly goes on to indicate this perhaps was a trial flight within their own country, or a flight that malfunctioned, crashed. This is something that is not used by India. Pakistan is just escalating tensions, and there are a series of examples of Pakistan escalating tensions. And you'd recall just a day before Prime Minister Narendra Modi met Pakistan's Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif in Ufa, Pakistan escalated tension both north and south of Pir Panjal. We lost an army soldier, we lost a BSF soldier just before the meeting, and that was a very clear signal that was being sent out by Pakistan Army that unless they are on board talks, peace cannot prevail. As soon as these talks got over, there was once again an escalation. In fact, yesterday we lost a civilian, a 42-year-old woman, where Pakistan used 81mm mortars, which is a major sign of escalation of fire. While on the line of control, Pakistan is still using small arms and India is retaliating. At the international border, Pakistan is targeting Indian villages and using 81mm mortars, where civilians have been injured and killed. Now, Pakistani media is reporting that there have been casualties on the Pakistani side, with BSF retaliating.
Gaurav, do stay with me. We also have Deputy Editor Shiv Arur joining me live from the newsroom. Shiv, Gaurav just filling us on the details through sources that are coming in that perhaps this could be a result of a miscommunication between the ISI and the Pakistani Army. But also what does add to this theory is the fact that very little evidence has been provided by Pakistan to India over this incident that they claim to be an Indian drone.
Absolutely, Vedika. I think there are increasing indications, especially with Gaurav's news break right now, that this is an intense embarrassment for Pakistan, and they're having to scramble for excuses and put up information, or like you rightly mentioned, not put up information to the Indian authorities to prove that this was in fact an Indian drone. This is looking embarrassing for Pakistan, because from the very few photographs and pieces of footage that Pakistan put out, It was very clear that this wasn't a military drone from any stretch of imagination, point number one, not operated by any of the Indian forces. We had the Indian forces on record to actually say that. Point number two, this is a recreational drone used by drone hobbyists all over the world, and this happens to be a Chinese-made drone, so that was another embarrassing fact. Point number three, as Gaurav just pointed out, and we've both had a look at this document, this appears to have been, an absolutely unforgivable, alarming and at one level embarrassing miscommunication or communication gap between the ISI and the Pakistan Army. It appears that the ISI or another agency within POK may have been, testing out this particular drone supplied by the Chinese for some kind of tactical reconnaissance, perhaps even for a border action team or a terror module within POK. Whether or not it was against India or not is not known, but it appears to be clear that this was a drone that was being tested by, under the aegis of the ISI at the time when it was shot down by the Pakistan Army, mistaking it for an Indian drone. So it's bizarre. They called it an airspace violation. Then they shot it down, and believe me, I've seen this kind of drone. It wouldn't take more than a rock being hurled at it to actually bring it down. So for Pakistan to say that they had to shoot down this drone is absurd in itself. So you've got the Pakistan Army on the one hand now saying they've shot down this drone. You've got an assessment from the Indian Foreign Office. You've got the Indian High Commissioner who's been summoned in Islamabad, and on the other hand you've got this assessment saying that this was a Pakistani drone. They'd acquired it from the Chinese. You can buy it off the shelf in any store. In any store you can actually buy a drone of this kind, and you've got Pakistan saying that they actually shot it down. The assessment says that this was a drone that was being used by the ISI, and the Pakistan Army was obviously not informed of it. You've seen cases of this kind many times before, except that in the context of what happened recently with the Narendra Modi Nawaz Sharif handshake, all of this appears to be an excuse for the escalating tensions there, Vedika.
Shiv, do stay with me. Coming back to you, Gaurav, and talking about the Indo-Pak talks that concluded just a week ago in Russia. Now, it seems that Pakistan is upping the ante on three fronts, be it the border, be it the issue of 2611 and its promises that they've been doing flip-flops on, and now this alleged airspace violation that they're talking about. How is this really going to affect the relationship between India and Pakistan in the days to come?
From what my sources in the government are telling me, whatever happens at the line of control and at the international border will be handled tactically at force commanders at that level. So if something happens at the line of control, the army will handle it. Whatever happens at the international border, the border security force on the Indian side and the DG Rangers on the Pakistani side, they will handle it. Whatever escalation takes place will be handled at the border itself. That will not affect the higher strategic level discourse between India and Pakistan. Once again, the signal from the government to the forces is very clear. If there is a ceasefire violation by Pakistan, they need to be paid back in equal measure, if not use of disproportionate force. So if Pakistan is, resorting to ceasefire violation, where we've lost one lady on the Indian side, the Pakistani media has since reported that they have suffered 4 fatal casualties on the Pakistani side. So the effort is to ensure that costs on Pakistan are so prohibitive that they do not, one, either send terrorists into India or to violate ceasefire, and that should ensure peace. If terrorists are coming in, it's for the intelligence agencies and the security forces to sort it out at their level. As far as India-Pakistan talks are concerned, Pakistan's National Security Advisor will come to India. They will talk about terror with Ajit Doval, India's National Security Advisor. They will talk about all outstanding issues. Whatever are the other issues, there is no composite dialogue between India and Pakistan anymore. The other issues will also be taken up, but tactical issues will be handled tactically. India-Pakistan issues will be handled at a higher level.
Gaurav and Shiv, do stay with me. I also have Hamza Amir joining me on the phone line from Islamabad. Hamza, Pakistan still in denial that the drone could perhaps belong to them itself. Just bring us up to speed with the latest. How's the media reporting this incident back in Pakistan?
Well, see, what happens is that when India and Pakistan come to, terms, especially any positive progress you see, from any sort of meeting between the two premiers, something like this happens. The line of control cross-border firing have been going on, and Pakistan has been saying a different story on its own side. It says that it's India who's doing unprovoked firing. It says it's India who actually sent its drone and they've shot it down. They do not want to agree on the fact that if this is their own, it was shot by the Indian forces and it fell on the Pakistani side. This is something that Pakistan is in denial of. Pakistan, in fact, is on the other side saying that even not only on the line of control in Kashmir, but also on the working border and boundary of Sialkot, there have been firing incidents, and they are reporting people being dead. The cattle farms and cows and cattle also dying, and people are being forced to get displaced a day or two before Eid is going to be in Pakistan. So Pakistan is actually trying to defend itself by offensive on Pakistan, and this is something that we've seen in the past too. India and Pakistan both have done that, and that is the prime reason why we are not able to actually go ahead even a step forward in talks, because this is something that keeps coming back over and over again, where accusations over accusations from India and from Pakistan, both sides, are actually working towards not going forward into a bilateral or composite dialogue between
Hamza, do stay with me. Maha Siddiqui also joining us live from New Delhi. Maha, just bring us up to speed with the latest as far as your government sources are concerned. Are they at all worried about this blame game by Pakistan over the drone incident?
Well, they are concerned, and at this point in time, they feel that this is a deliberate provocation that is coming from across the border from the Pakistan end. Now, they also believe, and some in the administration, that this whole story of the drone that was created by Pakistan, which has been completely debunked by the Army and the Indian Air Force here, saying that it wasn't any of their drones, was just a way of diverting attention from the killing that happened yesterday of an Indian civilian when there was firing from across the border, and they felt that this story came up because of that. Also, Vedika, let me point out, and if you see the sequence of events, really from about a week from now, from Friday, since we've seen the two prime ministers of India and Pakistan meeting, we've seen Sartaj Aziz go back and say that on the issue of 2611, they'll be unable to share the voice samples of Zakir Rahman Lakhvi, the main perpetrator of the crime, because their courts don't allow so. Although both the sides do know that there are ways and means of doing that, despite the fact that on the face of it, the excuse that Sartaj Aziz is giving is just a way of withholding information from India, which is very crucial to this case. Now, the two NSAs are supposed to meet, and we had broken that story that the meeting is going to take place within a month's time. We have also learnt, and media reports suggest that Pakistan is already preparing a dossier which they believe that they will come and place in India of what they allege is India's interference in Pakistan affairs. So clearly they are trying to build a case, is what the concern here in India is, to actually prop up a case of their own, so that the immediate concerns that India had on moving ahead on 2611, on the ceasefire violations, that it overshadows all those very crucial aspects. And also there is a general sense in Pakistan, what we've picked up is that they believe that Nawaz Sharif made too many of these tall promises, and therefore perhaps this is just a way of countering that.
Well, it's quite interesting that over the last 10 days we've seen Pakistan shake hands with India and talk peace, but on the ground there has been clear aggression. Maha Siddiqui, Shiv Arur, Gaurav Sawant and Hamza Amir, thank you so much for joining us.